The Federal High Court in Lagos has sentenced former governor of Abia State, Orji Uzor Kalu, to 12 years in prison.
This comes after Justice Mohammed Idris found him and his company Slug Nigeria Limited guilty of a 39-count charge of fraud and money laundering to the tune of 7.65 billion naira. A 12-year sentence is the highest among the 39 counts convicting the defendants, with the lowest sentence being 3 years.
Mr. Kalu's company, Slug Nigeria Limited, was ordered to be forfeited to the federal government, but former governor of Abia State, Orji Uzor Kalu, is planning to appeal the court judgment.
His co-defendant, Ude Udogu, who was director of finance and accounts at the Abia State government house during his tenure as governor, was found guilty of 34 counts.
Lawyer and public affairs analyst Olutubosun Oshifora is here with us in the studio to talk more on this. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's look at the timing. 12 years. It took 12 years to achieve a 12-year sentence. And there has been calls for a separate courts to try issues of corruption, looking at the time it took. What do you make of this?
That's the mistake we always make here.
Really? A mistake? How?
The mistake we always make, particularly in conversations. I was telling someone earlier that in other crimes, what you have is they take longer years to investigate. Then when they come to court, it looks like it's short. But in this place, we don't have that much tool with respect to investigation. So most times we rush to court first.
You don't have that much tool?
Yes. There's a whole lot to investigation. There's a whole lot to investigation. In fact, investigation in saner crimes is seen as research, and the amount of money you put in research and development is what you put into investigation in other crimes. But in this part of the world, you find that the police and all these things, they're still crying for funds and all these things. So there are a lot of things at the disposal of the prosecution which are not available here. I say this with the benefit of hindsight. I'm a lawyer, I practice, and I see the difficulty that the prosecution goes through in getting
what were the challenges that could have been faced in the process of this case that it took so long?
It's not just this case. I speak for every other case.
Yeah, I'm just narrowing down to this case.
Sometimes also, lawyers are guilty of, let's say, you file all sorts of things. You put all sorts of bricks in the way just to save your client.
Extension
but I mean, you saw how detailed the judge was, and we need to commend the judge because he was all out for the country. That say this one will go down in history as an exception to the earlier perception that you can't catch these big people, you can't sentence them. But we've seen from his pronouncement, he went ahead, quoted the Legiwa that forget the wheel of justice may grind slowly, but in the end,
I was going to say that people believe, as the saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied. And people have begun to lose hope in the judicial system because of cases such as this.
This has bettered hope. This has given us hope. Yes. Sincerely speaking, three ex-governors down, some 5-6 years ago, you can't say that for this country. So people are beginning to have hope all over again in the system. It's a slow system, but it is not denial of justice. It's just where we have found ourselves, and this will go down in history as a big achievement for the judiciary.
Okay, so he's going to appeal this case. Now, where do we see the case heading?
Right now, he has been convicted.
So do you think the appeal courts will uphold the lower courts?
For now, this is the judgment that is available to us. He stands as a criminal. He has been convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction until the appeal court says otherwise, which I'm not going to preempt the appeal court, but from what we have seen, from the counts and the way the judgment panned out, I don't see much coming out of this. Lawyers will always give you confidence. But at the end of the day,
I'm glad you're a lawyer and you're saying this.
Yes.
Mine is to give my client confidence, but at the same time, I have to be realistic. If I see that the odds are against you, I will tell you.
Will you be realistic when there's cash to be made?
Pardon?
No, let's leave it. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Now, there are concerns being raised by some section of Nigerians saying that despite the fact that he is going to prison, he would still be receiving his pension as a former governor.
Yeah,
Although there is a ruling, a court ruling saying that governors should forfeit return those monies.
Ex-governors?
Ex-governors, rather, I beg your pardon. But then this is still going to happen. And so this doesn't seem like it.
Well, I think the ruling, there was another of mandamus brought before the court that court should look into it, that if you're receiving pension, the idea of pension is that you're no longer working and you need something to sustain you.
But if you're still in service.
Yes, so but we've seen governors move on to become senators, governors move on to become ministers. So there's no point sustaining that kind of thing, particularly when it's not as if Nigeria is that buoyant. So I think for that ruling, it's brilliant. Now, but for him, a case comes to mind. You know the case of Dari?
Yes.
He was there,
yes.
he was in
Receiving,
prison. I think this is a test of the system, is also a test of the judicial system, and even our political system.
And
if
our
somebody
laws.
has been convicted, then I think all emoluments should stop. And I guess sooner than later, something will come up that will actually bring this to the fore. The courts will still come. Some people, I think it was Sarah that went with that mandamus. So I think some other bodies will definitely come up to find, because it's not sustainable. It's against morality that somebody who has stolen the country blind, the state blind, you want to keep giving him money. For now, he's still a senator. Forget the fact that he's in prison. 3 things can happen. He can resign, all right? Then he
resign?
Yes, he can resign his appointment as a senator. You know, he got the people's mandate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the people can go ahead and recall him, or the Senate president can declare his seat vacant after a period of time. Then, because for 12 years, until appeal happens. Appeal may not happen in the next 4 years. It may not happen in the next 7 years.
So he'll still remain in prison?
He's in prison. He's a criminal. As he stands, he's been convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction, and the position of the law is clear. Only a court of competent jurisdiction can pronounce someone a criminal, which has happened in this case. So he forfeits the money, he's a criminal, he has to go to jail, he has to serve terms.
Okay, talking about the money, excuse me, talking about the money now. It has been forfeited to the federal government, but Abians are saying the money should be for the state.
Well, there's a process to that. You know, the federal government prosecuted this case. So the first thing first, you give it to the appropriate, the people who prosecuted the case. But at the same time, I think that there are modalities, there are ways they go about it. The state will still get the money, but how it will happen is between the federal government. The case can even, the state can go to court and challenge the federal government that it's our money.
Would you advise that?
I will advise that. Their sons stole their money, so it should go back to them.
All right, so what signal then does this give to the political class? What message is this sending?
From what Justice Idris said, he said that if you stole, someday, it may be now, I think he quoted Daily Giver that sometime in the future, you will pay for what you have done. Now, so it's a good signal that, we have this mentality in this country now that people vie for political office just to go and steal. It's obvious, you see it, people come, they campaign, the campaign don't have any substance. It just shows you that they don't have the right motive for vying for offices. But now, with things like this, you know that someday, 12 years ago, this man was flying high. Today, he's flying as low can be. Now, so if you come to office to steal or with the aim of stealing, the same fate awaits you. And that's what this judgment has done, and it's brilliant for the country.
Olutu Bosun Oshifora, thank you for speaking with us.
My pleasure.